Hello, welcome back. Wow, as soon as I hit that, all our register space heaters turned on. Hold on. There we go. Let's do that again. Hello, welcome back. All right, Brandon Media Strategies. This is part 2 of week 10. I think we're cruising down week 10. How great is that? Doing some good stuff. Yes, we're on week 10. We're in phase 2. And I'm going to talk about some text hierarchy. Just these are simple ones that they're more keep in mind. I know I go really in depth sometimes with some of these and like, why are we doing this? This is fairly simple. And it's just things to keep aware of. Like, just a couple minutes apiece, really, is all these take. Then I'm going to talk about the big part is this when we get in this 2 part, and I always have this part, additional ask. I want 10 different versions of your logo. I like to go over this one over and over and over, and I'll talk about that more when I get there in a minute. Let me just write something down. Sometimes I think of things while I'm talking. All right, so let's dive in and learn some things that we need to be more conscious about when we design. Oh, shoot, I thought I had these open. File. Open. Let's do text too long. These somewhat come from the typing here, and the referencing is a little bit more from the realm of a website, but it is 100% true for when we're working as designers on flat pieces. And I want you guys to just kind of keep in line, like how you space things out. How long do you keep your line length? You know, is it super long? Do you want people reading across a line this long before they come back? And then and it's like ends up like this. Sometimes your lines can get so long, depending on the style of piece, that you're reading across and back, across and back. A little bit of shorter line does make it easier for people to read across. And what we're doing as visual communicators is we're trying to make the communication that we have as easy to absorb as possible. So here's the funny part. Any line shorter than 50 characters makes the eye move too quickly. When you talk characters, that's a single space. It's a single character / space. A, B, C, D space is 5 characters, you know. Anything longer than 70s require more effort, but I'm not saying we're trying to like never have a line that's longer than 70, but really watch like when you type something out and, you know, sometimes they give you those really weird dimensional pieces for branding. And I'm like, here it is. Or you guys remember, like it's really long. And then you're like, okay, well, I don't know what to do. So I'm gonna run my paragraph like all the way across this really long skinny piece. Or is it better to not do that? And then it's better to like, well, I'm going to add an image and I got my text and then, you know, add something else, but I'm going to have like a couple shorter columns and then more pictures in order. So, you know, and you break up the space and you make this information a little bit more easy to digest. We also have to think about how people think about it psychologically. If you see really long lines of text, I kind of think like, that's a lot to read. I'm not going to read that. But if we shorten it and it's just like this, boom, 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 boom. I can read. I'm like, I fly through these instead of like, oh, that was a sentence. Oh, that's another sentence. So I keep beating on it. But think about how that looks. Think about how it reads. Always, you know, like that's the big one. When we put in text, and that's the big one. Future me has ideas. When you design and we get our text and you get the text from me and you just plop it in without kind of like sort of reading through it. And I don't ever read every line, but you know what I do? I kind of check things like ends, starts. What's the last word? Am I ending on a weird word? Here's a dash, this dash, like I think about those things and I look at it. And if I'm reading and it, and then it's like blah, 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 and I have a line and it's, John, and for some reason Smith is over here, I'm like, no, John Smith goes together. And so I change my line lengths in order to have like John Smith together so it reads as one word. So just double check that. Don't just arbitrarily be like, I want the text that long. And then but look at it then. Step away, look at it and see, does it really make sense? Does it read well? Do you want to read it? Do you want to sit there and like go across an entire page to read something? So again, there's a happy medium. There's times when a long line length may make very much sense. And other times when they don't. So just be aware of it. It's a design choice that you get to make. And as a design choice that you get to make, your ultimate goal is to visually communicate a message. And so you want that message to get across as easily as possible for the viewer. So there you go. That goes into this. And then this will be a nice segue into what I want to talk about with those logo revisions. Hierarchy of text. What's most important? What's second important? What's third important? What's, how do we build that? There's this weird thing here, which I need to reverse. But it's showing you like they have some like, if the body copy is 16 point, then a formula for the header should be 120 to 180% of that base body copy font. So that's a little bit arbitrary, too. Like here, 16 point times 150 is 24 point. 24 point, blah, blah, times this. And this just shows you what we're doing, the mathematical treatment there. You can keep that in your mind, what's the math? And sometimes you use these enough that you have it memorized. Sometimes you just have to figure it out. 24 times 1.5 equals what? Like just do it on a calculator. It's easier for me to do the 1.5 than 150%. Percents are weird in calculators. So, but think about that. And when you're working on, those quick designs, make sure that if you have a header, it is a header. If you have a subheader, it is a subhead. If the body copy is a different size than the header. So we promote hierarchy in the design. If it's all the same size, all this to me, in which it should be, garners the same attention until we start to change the size of it. If I have bigger text, it makes me want to read that first. Smaller text, I want to read that last. Think about that. That's what people are looking for. We do titles for a reason. It gives us quick information. And then we think to ourselves, do I want to learn more? Yes or no? And so we need to grab that person's attention and then lead them through our piece. And we do that with font, text hierarchy, font hierarchy, whatever word you want to use there. That's how we do it. So think about that too. When we're working on pieces, what's first, second, third for dealing with the information that we have at hand. If you're like, well, Joel, we just do these design pieces and it just needs a header and the body copy, well, make sure the header stands out from the body copy. It shouldn't be the same size. Do it 150% bigger. Figure that out. Type it in, try it out. Again, sometimes you can go crazy. You could be a David Carson designer and throw it all out the window. But he does use this. it looks like he doesn't, but there is a hierarchy developed when we work on projects like this. So make sure you're using this. Not everything's the same. That just creates like this. If I just had a piece that looked like that, this is lackluster design. I just copied, pasted, hit return. It was like good enough. And like, that's lackluster design. That's just poor design. So make sure hierarchy is your winner for the chicken dinner. All right. Any questions on that? We only have one live person, but if you got a question, I'll answer it. I don't think I asked that enough. All right. Photoshop. Sorry, it's an angle. It's a little bit easier for me to write. All right. So logo variations. All right. I need 10 of them. What? That's crazy. It's not crazy. It's simple. It's simpler than you think. They're variations. And with that said, the variations are variations. They're not brand new logos in any sense of the word. They're just a simple variation. So think of it like this. You have your logo. You know, here's my logo. 1. Hierarchy. I always spell hierarchy wrong. So please bear with me. Hierarchy. Is there one move I can do in my logo lockup to help and then like, I'll just write one move, one change. That I can do to help the hierarchy. Should Earth Day be bigger than Celebration? I'm just going to try that on one logo. I'm going to make Earth Day bigger. All right. Nice. I like that idea. All right. Here's another idea. 2. Color. Change a color. Make a single color change. And when I say single color change, I don't mean like change the color on every one, you know, like every piece of the design. But besides the logo, the Dr. Bronner's logo has to stay the same. But what if we change the color of Celebration? And I change the color in a version. I just want to change that color. So it's a simple change. It's one change. So again, everything's going to lead to one change. 3, font. Play around with one of the letters. You know, like lowercase e or uppercase e. Is it a big E? I don't want to draw like that. Or is it a small e? You know, like just one simple change. What do I want to emphasize? And is there a way I can just change one letter? Again, one move or one change on one logo. What I'm not looking to have is 10, like the 3 logos you did in the beginning are supposed to be distinctly different. These 10 variations are just like, what if I move this? What if I move that? Another fun one that I was doing is, I need another page, is this, number 4. Left or right? What if I put something on the left to the right, or I move it from the right to the left? If I move it from the top to the bottom, you know, like, or, you know, top or bottom, just one design element. Is that going to change the way it looks? Will that reflect in the hierarchy of anything? Just a simple change. Again, going back to one move, one change. I'm not looking for a whole different world here. I'm just looking for simple little changes. 5. Position. This is left to right. This is again position. This is again is left, right, top, bottom, move it. What if you just change something? It's like one position change can really make a big difference in the way you look at it. So that is reference to that left, right. I wrote that twice. I get excited and write stuff down in the wrong order. 6. Big or small? I kind of mentioned with the letter, but what if like I'm going to make on one logo variation, I'm going to make this part bigger to see how it looks. But again, with that, don't forget about hierarchy. You don't want, we're not looking for the, what is that, 25% off. Oh, doctor, like that whole line, that is not our top line. That should always kind of be small, but you have Earth Day celebration comparatively to the Dr. Bronner's logo. What if you played around with which one is bigger, which one is smaller on your design? And play around with those. So that's when like I want those 10 variations. It's just re-looking at things, re-looking at it again, and just making minor tweaks. What if I did this? What if I do that? Again, this is the other thing I want you to kind of keep in mind. And when I wrote that thing down earlier, I go to references, and I always feel validated if I'm like watching a YouTube channel about graphic design, or I'm listening to a podcast about graphic design, or I'm reading a book about graphic design, and they mention something that I mentioned in class. I'm like, yes, validation. Like this isn't, I'm not just, speaking normally. I just was on a thing that they were talking about, this minor variation in design. I'm not asking you to redo everything. It's just a minor variation. In the beginning, we want to give 3 completely different logos. But then when the client's like, this is the one we want, that's when we then go into like, well, now let me give you some minor variations on that design. And we might be able to, like up our design skills and up our design presentation to you, like make it even better. And then I'm just going to make some small tweaks. And then you look at it again, and then something may jump out and be like, that's the one. Oh, I liked what you had before, but now I really love it. So this is a normal thing to do for everything. You do it, and then you look at it, and you're like, what can I change? I do it, I look at it, what can I change? What can I update? And again, it's not starting over. It is simply just expanding on what you worked on. So have some fun. And you make, like, this is also too, I asked for 10. You're getting like, I'm not like, this is one of those where people go crazy and be like, I need 100 variations of this, and you're like, oh, you kidding me? I've had to go through that in graduate school, where it's just ridiculous, like 100 versions of the same thing, like so it does happen. But that's it. Work on those. I went over for the Tuesday work. I did go over, you got all those files now that are all available to you. I'm always around to answer questions, comments, or concerns. Your links are there. Oh, everybody make sure that you are, I talked about the logo. Make sure you're doing Earth Day celebration with the exclamation point, and you're getting this correct. 25% off all Dr. Bronner's products. Don't leave out Dr. Bronner's, otherwise it makes it sound like every product at Walgreens is going to be 25% off. And then you can start working on these. I talked about the web opener on Tuesday, and then like what I do there would translate to poster and flyer design there. I've talked in the past, and maybe I'll talk again next week, about making sure that that stuff from Illustrator can go into InDesign. Vector-based programs can swip swap. So you should never be like using anything. You should never use raster unless you have to use raster, because there's so many problems with it. Meaning like, oh, is it low res, high res? Did it degrade when I did this? I want it smaller here, bigger there. Raster art adds more complexity. So if you are going to use that kind of work, which can be awesome, like holy crud, like use some Photoshop duotones and make your piece look amazing. You know what I talk about, those duotones? I taught this in my last Photoshop class, duotones. Photoshop. You get some beautiful, like this kind of look. You know, like this yellow, the purple, or green, the purple. Like it looks so rad. But make sure you're starting with a high enough. You're starting with a high enough initial starting photo so that things don't degrade over time. Like say you have the hands like holding soap or whatever. So do use it, but graphics, typography, lines, and designs, for the most part, should be vector-based and not raster-based to get a better look overall. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me. You know how to get a hold of me. I am always checking. If by some reason I miss something, please email me and say, hey, you didn't get to my stuff. Where is it? Sometimes things going across 3 different computers all the time, it doesn't always update the way it should. So always reach out to me. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to get on the phone and talk to you and walk you through stuff if you need extra help. That's it. So next week, we'll go to part 3. And this is just a little primer in case you weren't paying attention. And then after next week, so we meet next week. And then you have spring break. You have a week off of me. No more me. Then after spring break, we come back. We finish up this project and we do our final project of the year. So cool. That's it for me. Take care. Thank you. You know how to get a hold of me. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. And I will talk to you later. Thank you so much. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.